Okay, welcome back. Solo role Mangging, Shadow of the Weird Wizard, generic Hexcrawl. Having quite a bit of fun here. So last time we pulled off our first heist of this campaign. Every campaign has to have at least one or two. And it went off fairly well. We mostly got what we wanted out of it. It was a little dicey. Not ideal, but a little... It was alright. It was alright. So I gotta actually note that we do have a glass cutter available to us now. And we also bought that scroll of disable alarm, which didn't end up getting used. But it might in the future if we do more heists. So we got paid. We have a total of 43 gold. Definitely a long ways away from being able to purchase a property. But with Lord Thomas on our side, if we keep working for him for a bit, he may rent us out a property and we can get off the ground. We'll have to look into some other RPG system to see prices for running a property. I know Heroes of Adventure has some information about that, but there's probably other. Honestly, if I just search D&D cost of running business. So there's a whole section in the DMG2 for 3.5 edition that goes into detail covering businesses. I mean, there you go. Bet that's not in the 5th edition one. But maybe. This is from 9 years ago, this post, so it's possible. Oh, maybe this information's from 5th edition. 2 gold per day to run a shop. I guess this information is 5th edition. Upkeep, including hireling expenses, is 2 gold pieces per day in 5th edition money. That seems really cheap. In 5th edition money? Again, I usually look to the price of a longsword. That's usually my standard for converting currencies between systems. How much does a longsword cost? I think it's... Okay, so here in 5th edition, it costs 15 gold pieces. Jeez. In Weird Wizard, it costs... A long sword specifically costs 1 gold piece. We're gonna go off that. So, 15 times the price. It seems very high. Which would mean 2 gold per day in D&D is... God, divided by 15? I mean, divided by 10 would be 2 silver per day. So it's less than 2 silver per day to run a shop. I mean, maybe that's in like a small village or something, or a small town. I imagine in the big city here, if we want to run a business, prices are going to be at least double, maybe triple. But ideally, you're making a profit. You know, the business shouldn't just be a drain. So I don't think we want to follow this metric. There's got to be something better. Apparently, MCDM has a strongholds and followers supplement that goes into more detail for businesses, strongholds, and that kind of stuff. So we could maybe look into that. But again, like, here's an adventure I know had... That's what we ran when we ran, like, our zoo or whatever it was. Regardless, it's a moot point at the moment. Because I don't think we can get off the ground yet anyways. So we'll look into that when the time comes. So we spent the night after our heist. So Truco heals 4 health. He's up to 40. Probably just spend another night and go back to 42 and be fine with it. You know, I haven't really been thinking about the world at large and anything that would be affected. So, I mean, at this point, they could pass a year and probably nothing would be affected too much. They would just run out of money because all they would be doing is lounging around. Unless they want to get jobs. Things that would be affected by time. You know, we talked about how the mage killers, or whatever we want to call them, the task force, might be watching us, but if we're just lounging around. But what we pulled off last night, if they were observing that, you know, that's not necessarily a great thing that we did. But it also wasn't like mass chaos or anything, so it's probably doesn't really tip the scales too much either way. Had I shouted wrathful utterance then yeah, we'd be in big trouble. Other things is Lord Vector is probably going to want revenge if he figures out that we were the two responsible. And he's going to put that together. If we keep working for Lord Thomas as like his two, you know, supernatural hired goons, he'll probably eventually assume that we were the two that broke in and mind controlled him and stuff and killed 2 of his guards and tied up his wife and blah, blah, blah. So he'll eventually figure that out and come for revenge in some form. And if I were really thinking about this as a campaign, that would obviously be a big plot point that I would be planning out. I don't know if we'll get to it, but either way, bottom line, we're going to have to do some stuff for Lord Thomas, and I think we want to deduct like a silver a day for our expenses of living in the city. So this number is going to be ticking down. We spent 1 night last night, another night tonight, so I can heal back up to 42 full health, and make sure that we get back all spells and stuff. Blah 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 blah. Certain outcome. Blah blah blah. We're good. We're good. We're good. Oh, I forgot about Witchfire. Then I picked that up. Int versus agility, 4d6 damage. That is now practically better than all-consuming fires of hell. Yeah, I would say generally better than... It's just slightly shorter range. And Witchfire, I can't spend 2 health to turn a failure into a success. But overall, Witchfire is probably better. Yeah, okay. So we need another job from Lord Thomas. I think he sees our value. He's probably had things in mind that he would like to accomplish. So we're going to help him accomplish these things. Build up a budding friendship with this guy, saying that we want to start up a business in the city and, you know, we want his help. So we could go to various random quest generators to give me ideas and things like that, but we're going to go a different route. We're going to go with our favorite tool, ChatGPT. So there's a few quest ideas from a city lord that they would give to a small team operating within a fantasy city. So this is some of the quest ideas that ChatGPT threw out there. And these are very, you know, simple. As in, you know, they're not super fleshed out. I probably could ask it to flesh them out more with more details. But first is a smuggling sting. Lord has received reports of an illicit smuggling ring operating in the Docks District, funneling dangerous magical contraband into the city. Team is tasked with infiltrating the smuggling operation, identifying its ringleader, and putting an end to their activities. Complications. The smugglers are protected by corrupt city officials or guild members, making it harder to track them without drawing attention. Okay, I think that's pretty solid. Missing noble, a young noble heir, crucial to an upcoming political alliance, has gone missing within the city. The Lord suspects foul play and sends the team to discreetly investigate their last known whereabouts. Complications. The heir has joined a secret society or cult, making them unwilling to return, or their disappearance is tied to a rival noble house's scheme. One or the other. Speaking of cult, cult in the shadows. Strange symbols and unsettling rumors of a growing cult have surfaced in a district of the city. The Lord fears a potential uprising or darker intention and tasks the team with uncovering the cult's activities and dismantling them before they gain more power. Now, to be clear, none of these things are like a revelation of creativity, you know? None of these are groundbreaking and like, oh my god, I've never thought of such a plot idea within a city. This is insane. These are all pretty tried and true. But, you know, as it goes, there are no, like, original plots. You know, you're never really going to come up with an original plot that's never been thought of before. So, it's more about the specific details and how things go and you know, odd complications that can occur within the plot that might make it interesting. Or the thread that it creates that might get pulled on to lead to more interesting stuff, and so on and so forth. I mean, you're playing fucking D&D. You know, you're playing a fantasy RPG. There's only so much originality that's going to occur. If you're striving for just like, wow, I've never thought of playing anything like this. I mean, there's a lot of more auteur sort of fringe RPGs that you may prefer. People that play D&D like pretty traditional stuff, for the most part. That includes me. I mean, all these sound pretty fun. All these sound like they have a lot of potential for fun stuff. Sewer menace. Reports of disappearances and strange noises from the city's underbelly have increased. The Lord hires the team to investigate the sewers and eliminate whatever is causing the chaos. Could range from a pack of displaced monsters to an underground thieves guild or even a sentient ooze expanding its domain. A guard gone rogue, using his knowledge of the city to orchestrate a series of robberies. Arcane anomaly. Unleash an unstable magical experiment in a crowded marketplace. That seems more like a job for the mage killers than us. Blackmail and bribery. Lord has been receiving veiled threats from an unknown blackmailer, demanding gold or the release of damaging secrets. Festival sabotage. A major city festival is approaching. The Lord fears sabotage from political rivals or criminal elements. Team must identify potential threats, protect key figures, and ensure the event goes smoothly. See, I think these are all pretty fun, and I'm envisioning each one of these as I read them, and I think there's a lot of fun. I think some of these are better for larger groups of players, you know, and I think Lord Thomas probably has other groups or goons or something that he might trust with some of these. Our advantage is that we're A small team, very small team, but very potent. A rogue construct once used to protect the city has malfunctioned and is rampaging through a district. And espionage cleanup. Spy from a rival city-state has been uncovered operating with the city. The Lord needs the team to either apprehend or eliminate the spy and recover any stolen documents. The spy may have sympathizers or leverage over powerful figures in the city, making a direct approach risky. Alright, so there's 10 decent plot ideas that you can sort of springboard off of. I kind of like the idea of a cult. I always am drawn towards, cults and eldritch and dark stuff. And we do have a cult in our system, or our setting here. The cult of the Pact of Consumption. So we could work off of that. So I'm just telling ChatGPT to elaborate on number 3, the cult one, using the Pact of Consumption and their curse and stuff. Okay, here we go. Secretive and insidious cult that worships the Great Devourer, a deity of endless hunger and destruction. Their ultimate goal is to curse the city with the curse of endless consumption, a vile magic that causes victims to devour everything in their path, food, objects, even other people, until the chaos and despair generate enough power to summon a manifestation of the Great Devourer itself. Okay, so our quest is titled The Hunger Below. The city lord has received disturbing reports from the poorer districts. People are acting strangely, obsessively hoarding food and eating in excess. Soon after, these individuals disappear, leaving behind scenes of utter destruction. The lord suspects a cult is behind these events and tasks the party with investigating the source before the chaos spreads further. Key objectives. 1. Investigate the symptoms. Speak with witnesses and examine scenes of strange incidents. Clues point to victims behaving as though possessed, consuming even non-food items. Gather intelligence from a local healer who treated an afflicted individual only to see them explode into a mass of writhing worms after death. Ooh, what a twist. Then uncover the cult. Trail the cultists who frequent local taverns, food markets, or warehouses to recruit desperate and starving individuals. Discover that the cult operates out of an abandoned granary near the city's edge where they are stockpiling cursed food to distribute. Then confront the ritual. Learn that the cult is preparing a massive ritual to curse the city's food supply by channeling the Great Devourer's power into a central altar made from the bones of past victims. If the party doesn't stop the ritual in time, the curse will affect an entire district, creating an outbreak of uncontrollable hunger and violence. Alright, I like all this. Then it goes into the cult structure. I love this. The leader of the cult is known as High Glutton Tarvos, a grotesquely bloated figure who serves as a living avatar of the curse. He can spew acid and summon swarms of spectral mouths. Then you have the rank and file, the ravenous initiates and devourers acolytes. And then they also have creatures, hunger beasts, and the maw spawn. This is all just terrific stuff. I love it. This is such a... It's like, I wish that I were this creative, I wish that I didn't need ChatGPT, of course. I wish that I could just be like, let me just use that creative part of my brain and just generate all this out of thin air. But I'm not that kind of creative. And so this is just like, it's like fucking wizardry to me, It's like if this were implanted as a chip in my brain and I could just access and be like, hey, generate these thoughts for me right now. It's just like, sure, here you go. I don't know. It's just wizardry to me. And I don't like ChatGPT for almost any other purpose. Like, I don't trust it at all for anything factual, really. I wouldn't trust it with any sort of data. But creative stuff like this, that just like, that I can feed it some ideas and it just, elaborates off of it. I don't know. It just seems so good. And again, I also wouldn't necessarily run 100% of everything it says without modifying some stuff, but it's just such a good springboard. So they have their granary hideout and the ritual chamber, which is located in an underground cavern beneath the granary, featuring an altar surrounded by twisted root-like growths that pulse with the Great Devourer's essence. Challenges and complications. One of the Lord's trusted advisors is secretly a cult member and tries to mislead the party or sabotage their efforts. Escalating curse. As the cult nears completion of their ritual, minor versions of the curse begin to spread, causing food to turn rancid and people to behave erratically in affected areas. Ethical dilemmas. Some cult members are unwilling participants, drawn in by promises of food or salvation during desperate times. The party must decide whether to show mercy or eliminate all cultists. And then it talks about the final confrontation. The party arrives at the ritual chamber as the high glutton Tarvos leads the cult in a dark hymn. He consumes part of the cursed food to complete the ritual, transforming into a monstrous avatar of the Great Devourer. The party must battle Tarvos while cultists and Moss Spawn defend him. The altar pulses with energy requiring destruction to end the ritual. And then some rewards. Relics of the Devourer, a shard of the Shattered Altar, grants limited power over hunger-based magic. There's not too much of that. Yeah, favor with the City Lord, and some lingering knowledge about other cult cells in nearby regions, setting up future adventures. Yeah, I think this is all pretty fantastic. I mean, honestly, I could run a whole night's session off of what it just all told me. And if you were really like struggling to elaborate even further on your own, like you could just tell it like, hey, give me some more information or more ideas about the party going into the slums. Give me some like ideas for encounters that could pop up in the slums. I mean, we'll just do it. Okay, so I'm just going to have it elaborate a bit more on the start of the quest where they're investigating the slums. The slums are a maze of narrow alleys, makeshift homes, and shadowy corners where desperation runs high. As the party delves into the area to uncover clues about the Pact of Consumption, they'll encounter a mix of dangers, leads, and moral dilemmas. And so then it gives like the initial atmosphere that you could, describe as they're going into the slums. The sights, the sounds, the smells. So overcrowded streets, collapsed buildings, cries of children. You hear arguments over scraps of food. The smell of like rotting food mixed with the acrid odor of smoke from burning refuse. Quickly becomes clear that many in the slums are suffering from extreme hunger, with some displaying unnatural behaviors such as gnawing on wooden crates or eating dirt. I mean, that paints a fucking picture, doesn't it? Then you have a group of ragged individuals surround the party begging for food or coin. Among them is a gaunt man with glassy eyes who keeps muttering, "The hunger speaks." Talking to the man reveals cryptic phrases about a feast that never ends and the mouths that whisper in the dark. Giving the beggars food shows goodwill but may attract more desperate individuals. Aggressively dismissing them could create a mob-like confrontation. The party is pointed toward a woman known as Old Mara, a recluse who's been stockpiling food. Her shack is barricaded with strange runes scratched around the entrance. Mara is a terrified former cultist who fled the pact after seeing their true goals. She hoards food compulsively, claiming it's the only way to keep the hunger at bay. She can provide critical information about the cult's hideout, but is half mad and paranoid. She may attack if the party seems threatening. Oh man, I mean, they give us a bunch of encounter possibilities here. A food fight. In a crowded market square, a brawl breaks out over a cart of fresh bread. The party witnesses starving individuals fighting viciously, and some seem unnaturally strong or feral. Break up the fight, risking harm from the frenzied combatants. Investigate the bread. It's cursed food planted by the cult to test the curse spread. Let the fight escalate and follow one of the afflicted individuals to the cult's recruiters. A local healer named Sister Alira has been treating afflicted individuals but recently disappeared. The party discovers her abandoned clinic, which contains scattered notes about a curse of endless hunger and a map marking the granary. You could encounter a hunger beast there, a former patient transformed by the curse, showing what happens to the fully afflicted. The party hears rumors of mysterious figures offering food to the starving in exchange for loyalty. Following these leads, they come across a pair of cult recruiters spreading cursed rations. So they could pretend to be starving and to infiltrate the cult's operation. They could ambush the recruiters for information about their leaders, or they could let them go but mark their movements to uncover more cult members. Then it's got some, I mean, God, like they threw a bunch of information at me. Environmental challenges. So, starving crowds, a cursed food cache, hidden cult symbols, optional combat encounters with some rabid afflicted, cult enforcers, or ambushed by a hunger beast, a grotesque amalgamation of mouths and tendrils formed from an individual overtaken by the curse. As the party investigates, they should uncover the following. Who is behind the affliction, where they're operating, and how they're spreading the curse. Potential role-playing opportunities. Moral dilemmas. How much help should the party provide to starving citizens while focusing on their mission? Cult defectors. Old Mara or other repentant cultists may reveal valuable information but come with their own agendas or risks. The party could gain allies from the slums, such as Sister Alira if rescued, or local toughs willing to fight the cult in exchange for aid. Okay. I don't know. I think it's pretty sweet. I think it's all pretty cool. Because again, you know, we have all the information here, but imagine, you know, we were just playing and Lord Thomas just said, look, there's been rumors and you know, sightings and stuff, things going on in the slum area that I have, you know, quite a bit of property in. And the food situation there is pretty bad. It seems that a lot of the food supplies have been going bad in some way, rotting or something. And people are starving. They're fighting over scraps. And then there's also been some other rumors about people that are taking it a bit far and they're consuming inedible things. So he'd like us to investigate these rumors and get to the bottom of this and get, you know, figure out why the food is going bad, because the last thing they need is a full-blown riot of the lower class. Now, obviously, the two of us, these two characters, had already encountered this cult in this campaign. So they could pretty quickly put two and two together and say, okay, it's the Pact of Consumption again. They're operating within the city. Like, we kind of... We have their fucking dark Bible. You know, we have the Deveratio Magnus. So, Balance is pretty familiar with the cult's operations. So that does skip, I think, a couple steps there of discovery. We just have to figure out where the cult is operating out of, because we know they're cursing the food and causing all this. But if we hadn't encountered the cult before, and this was just a brand new... This was like the first time these players had heard of such a thing. Yeah, I think that would be pretty damn interesting of, like... You know, what the hell is going on with these people that are just, like, chewing on wooden crates and leather belts, and you know, they're just like eating anything in sight. So I like this quite a bit. All right, so we take up the task. And I think we blend in somewhat well. We're not really dressed in fancy clothes or anything like that. We haven't been elevated to the upper echelon, and we're wearing like, you know, rich furs and stuff. We're pretty commoner looking. And so we'll head down into the slum region. And we see the overcrowded streets, you know, the decrepit buildings threatening to collapse, and we see plenty of rotten food kind of scattered around, but we also see some people clearly eating rotten food. And those people do not look well. The whole place just reeks. I mean, this place is a fucking... It's a problem. It's a problem. Slums are usually pretty bad. This is really bad. See some little kid eating dirt like it's a gourmet meal. Not so hot. So we know that, well, like I said, we know that the cult is operating here. We can figure that out pretty quickly, pretty easily. So it's a matter of how do we find out where they're operating from? Where are they based out of so that we can bust in and crack some skulls? Usually you follow the money, right? But in this case, we follow the food. Because that's how they spread the curse. It's all through the food that they give out. So I think we probably do go to the market area. And I think we may as well go with the food fight option here. We go to the crowded market square in the slums. It's not a pleasant place. You know, it's muddy, it's stinky, it's crowded. And we see, yeah, we see a couple guys wheel in a cart into the market with like a tarp over it or something. And they unveil the tarp theatrically. And it's just a cart filled with fresh bread. And, yeah, obviously, that's going to cause quite a scuffle. So a big fight breaks out. As people are, like, you know, desperately clawing to get at this bread, which... of course, is cursed. I think, you know, players, again, if they're not aware of the cult and everything, they might not jump to that conclusion. They might think that these are just vendors or something that came in with a cart of fresh bread and, you know, it's like a Turbo Man doll. Things just got out of hand. And, so a brawl breaks out. Like an unusually vicious brawl. Like people are like ripping out throats and stuff. And yeah, some of the people in the crowd we can see are like unusually feral. It's kind of turning into a bit of a bloodbath. And this is definitely where some groups would very much try to intervene to put a stop to it. But honestly, I don't know how much we care. Because putting a stop to it really means by force. And not only do we not have that kind of force, if we did, we would, I mean, we do, but our force is basically just getting them to kill each other or just killing them. So it's not good. There's too many innocents, you know, it's just not good. We're not going to be able to break this up. There's only 2 of us. You need a fucking police force here to put a stop to this. So we're more concerned about following the 2 individuals that came in with the cart. So I think this becomes more of like a skill challenge of like trying to follow them through this melee, you know. Because as soon as they took the tarp off, they kind of just slipped away. They don't want to get caught in all that. They just want to spread the curse through the bread. They don't want to get caught in a big brawl and get their throat ripped out. So, again, it's pretty much just a series of like agility checks to see if we can navigate around the burly brawl, and try and follow. So like maybe agility check to see if we can navigate without getting caught in it, and an intellect check to see if we can actually like track them and spot them in the crowd and stuff and follow them. Something like that. So we'll do one of each for each character, and we'll just see how well we all roll. So Truco is going to use agility. Well, no, he's going to use... They're both going to make each roll. But he's going to use trickery on his intellect roll because he's worse off. So his agility roll, first up, 19. He's perfectly able to avoid getting mixed in with the brawl. Then his intellect check to see if he can track them. That's going to be a fail no matter what. So he's a little bit too preoccupied with avoiding the melee. He kind of loses sight of the 2 presumed cultists. Balance, on the other hand, her roll to avoid the melee succeeds, and her roll to track them succeeds. So she's with Truco, but she keeps her eyes a little bit better on the 2 cultists, and she sees them slip away down an alley in the distance. So we pursue. Now we're trying to be stealthy because we don't want to ambush, you know, we're not trying to attack them and kill them or anything. I mean, we could jump them and then beat the information out of them, but cultists tend to be pretty tight-lipped, pretty fanatical about safeguarding their information. So we can cast One True Love, as always. I mean, that breaks through anything. And if it comes to that, I suppose that might be what we end up doing, but we'd prefer to just follow them to their dark lair and go from there. I don't always like relying on the same gimmick. The thing is, if I was running this, they you know, the players wouldn't be aware of the cult immediately and blah blah blah, so it wouldn't come to this quickly. But you wouldn't want them to just like, the first thing they do is find cultists and like find shifty individuals and follow them back to their lair. That makes it over a little too quickly. So, because we want to run one of these other little encounters in the slums. I like the idea of the the local healer that's gone missing in her abandoned clinic. I like the imagery of that. It reminds me of Bloodborne with a hunger beast popping out and stuff. So I want to get them to this abandoned clinic somehow and put 2 and 2 together. But I'm not sure how to connect following these cultists to the abandoned clinic. There's no reason that they would go to the abandoned clinic. Maybe. I suppose, maybe. If Sister Alira was very, very recently, like, taken by the cult, and these guys were sent out with the cursed bread, and they were told, okay, take this to the market, you know, cause a big scene, spread the curse, and then after that, go to the Alira's clinic and, you know, burn it down or something, you know, clean up all the evidence there. So we're not following them to their lair. We're following them to this clinic where we have to then take them out. And at the clinic, it says we find scattered notes about the curse and a map marking the granary. And then we're attacked by the hunger beast. I think that's a lot better. So we follow 2 cultists then through the winding streets, the winding alleyways of filth. And I think we want to do... yeah, I'd probably do more agility checks to see how well we follow them. And I don't think failure necessarily results in us getting noticed. I think failure is more we lose sight of them and we have to pick up the trail again. But at the same time, I don't know if that's that interesting. In a sandbox campaign, I suppose you just sort of do what makes sense and see where it goes. Whereas we're running more of like a scripted adventure almost. Like we want the players to get to this location. And if you want your players to get to a location or do something or follow something, whatever, you don't really want to introduce the element of chance when it comes to failure to do that. So honestly, like I said, if I was running this and I wanted the players to get to this clinic while following these 2 guys, just let them follow the 2 guys. You know, there's still chances of failure later. But failing here and they just lose sight of them and they're like, yeah, okay, well, your lead dries up, find something else. That's kind of lame. I think that's kind of lame. So I'm not going to introduce the element of chance here. We already did, where I could have lost sight of them in that crowd, and then we would have had to find another lead, and there would have been another lead. And we could do it here, and there'd be another lead, and blah, 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 but, you know, whatever. They're on a lead, let them just go on it. So we follow the cultists through the winding alleyways, and eventually they come across, they come up to a building. And they kind of like look around a little bit before they open the door, like the back door or something, and they slip inside. Now the players might think that, oh, this is their hideout. This is where they're operating out of. There could be 20 cultists in there now. And for that reason, they might be very cautious. But they shouldn't be so cautious as to just, like, leave, you know? They should at least scout it out a little bit and, like, listen or something. And so, you know, we creep forward and we try and peek through windows. You know, let's try staying pretty stealthy. And we'd probably see just the 2 cultists, and it looks like some sort of clinic. And they're like rummaging through papers, you know. It looks like they're looking for something. But they're planning to just burn it, right? I mean, why would they even bother? Maybe they don't want to burn it. Maybe that's a bit severe, because a fire here in the slums like that could easily burn down the entire slums. So maybe they're not going to burn it. They were said to just find any evidence that she was collecting about the cult and just destroy it. So they're looking for something. I mean, it's 2 cultists, so it should be pretty simple, right? This shouldn't be much of a combat. I don't think I have to overthink this. Let me grab my cultist stats here. The cult deacons, right? That's what everybody is. Which is starting to be a pretty weak enemy for us. But these are goons. I mean, that's the thing. Like, as you get higher level, it's not like a video game sometimes where enemies just all scale with you. There's still going to be peasants. There's still going to be little shit ants, you know? So there's not much reason that these guys are all, like, difficulty 4 cult priests. It just wouldn't make sense. So yeah, they're just called deacons. Really, they could just be cultists, difficulty 1. But we'll keep it somewhat interesting. So I guess we're going to sneak into the house. Sneak into the clinic and try and just jump them. So we'll both roll a stealth. Because here, a failure does not, like, end the whole lead or anything. It's just like, oh shit. It's an oh shit. So Truco with trickery, oh boy, he's gonna need a 5 or a 6. He didn't. So Truco actually fails. And he goes in first, so he steps on a floorboard that really creaks. And so, I'm gonna say that we weren't, like, in sight of them yet. They're, like, around the corner in another room. But suddenly they both, like, the place goes silent, you know. They stop talking, they stop looking. And we strain our ears a little bit. And we hear, like, the sound of a swords being unsheathed. And so I think, you know, Truco also taking out his sword, his long sword. And he's going to just kick it off by casting Rune of War. Remember, he has to speak it out loud, so it does ruin any sort of surprise there. As he just starts speaking in Latin. And then it's up to them, you know, whether they would just run immediately or charge in. Or maybe they wouldn't charge in at all. Maybe they would hide and try and ambush us. I don't think they run, because they probably don't think that it's, like, more than they can handle. Although the fact that he just spoke something in, you know, Latin or whatever is probably a little bad. I'm going to say we'll roll a d6. 1, 2, or 3, they charge in. 4, 5, or 6, they try and ambush. Okay, so they're gonna... So he says that, he buffs his weapon, his long sword, but then nothing happens, and there's still silence. So Truco continues forward. He turns into this next room. He doesn't really spot anything, but I'm going to give him an intellect roll. See if he spots them hiding. Straight up D20, he does not. So he is going to get ambushed. Now again, according to the rules, being surprised means that you do not get any actions on your turn. Does apparently mean you can still move and you can still take a reaction. So that means that you can be surprised, take the initiative, and then run away before they can do anything. And that seems dumb. So I would say, I don't know. I mean, I've been running surprise consistently as just, you don't get to do anything. It's just a free attack against you, and that's it. Because that's usually how surprise works. Specifically stating that you don't get any actions just seems weird within the context of the rest of the system. I'd maybe say no actions and you can't take the initiative. So then the enemies still get to go first no matter what. You do get a reaction for something, and you still get movement when it's your turn. That is maybe okay. That might be the compromise. Compared to just full-blown, you don't get a turn. You don't get reactions, you don't get a turn, you don't get movement, blah, blah, blah. So I guess we'll go with that as the compromise. You get reactions, you can't take the initiative. So they leap out with their swords. I don't know where they leap out from. Don't question it. They were hiding. Shut up. And they're both going to swing their swords, even though they have flails. Whatever. And so this is +2 with 1 boon against Truco. Defense 15. Yeah. All right, first one rolls a 15 plus 5. I think I just rolled. I wish it had like a little history of your rolls. I think I just rolled that. So yeah, definitely a hit. So he'll use Sidestep Strike to turn it into a miss. Actually, they don't get a boon. Unless we give the boon for surprise. Which is not in the rules. So they don't get a boon. But he still hits on a 15. It doesn't matter. So Sidestep Strike. The second one rolls a 15. So that's 17. That's also a hit. So 2d6. 4 damage. Okay, so they both hit, actually. Except he sidestepped one of them. Pretty good rolls on their part. That was our reaction. Balance doesn't really have any reactions. So, you know. Then it's the first round of combat, or technically the second round, but here we go. Balance will take the initiative. I think she'll probably just use Witchfire. Why not? So this is +6 versus their 10 with a boon because of gray magic. So yeah, already it's a hit. So that's 4d6 damage to one of them. 19. He has 1 health left. So his body just erupts in flame, scorching his, his skin and burning him. 1 health left. Not in good shape. Truco will also take the initiative because I'm confident I can kill him. I got Rune of War active. So that's 5d6, 66, 7d6. Yes. With 2 boons. Oh, crit. 8d6. Roll at 8d6. 24 damage. Alright, so we behead the other one. And he's at 1 health. So he'll make a morale check. And it says, cultists are fanatics. They make will rolls with 1 boon. So he's gonna roll a d20 plus 2 plus a boon. Yeah, he already succeeded. So he is determined now. He's been purged by flame, but he is determined to be victorious. So he's gonna swing. You know, he's gonna move. He's gonna charge towards balance, and Truco can't do shit because he doesn't have a reaction. That's a good thing to keep in mind as a DM here, is that ops are not guaranteed. And if your party is constantly just taking the initiative, fuck it, you know, the enemies can just freely go wherever the hell they want. So yeah, he's going to charge balance and swing his sword. Boom. Hit. Nothing she can do about that. She's got no reactions that save her from anything. She's an open target. It's like, how dare you strike me? Strike he does, though, for 2d6 damage. 5. Oof. Ugh. Truco then takes the initiative. Cannot comprehend somebody just walked past him to attack balance. So he swings. I think I just rolled a 19 again. See, the other dice roller has the log, so I can see when I've clicked it or haven't clicked it. Here, there's like, if I happen to roll the same number, it's like you can't even tell. I'm pretty sure I rolled a 19, but even if I rolled this 10, it's still a hit for like 76. Yeah, he's dead. He's definitely dead. So he beheads him too. Balance does not take kindly to being struck. But what's done is done. We have no healer's kits, ever. And no potions of any kind. No heals of any kind. We're not really interested in that sort of stuff. We typically just don't take damage. That's how we operate. Anyways. Combat is over. You'd probably find like a handful of copper, maybe a silver piece on him or something. We'll take a silver piece off of him. And then it's like, okay, well, what were they looking for? There's something in this clinic. So we start looking through the papers here, looking through documents, trying to figure out whose clinic this is, why they're here, what they're looking for. And I think we pieced together some information. This clinic was run by a local healer named Sister Alira. And she's been quite busy recently. And so a lot of her like recent reports and stuff concern this illness that seems to be spreading in a strange way, and it's causing just this desperate hunger amongst her patients. And this confirms everything we already know. You know, there's nothing really new there. But while pouring through, we find a piece of parchment that I guess she had been sketching on. And from the looks of it, she was like kind of triangulate. She was like tracking the illness, like where they live and stuff like that, and where like food shipments were coming from. Like she was doing some Batman shit here. She was tracking stuff. And all signs seem to point towards this one granary on the edge of the slums. And she's kind of like circled it. And that's all you have. That's enough. For players, that's more than enough. They'll put that together and okay, that's where we gotta go. And so that's when they get attacked again by the hunger beast. And so we need to come up with stats and a We need a stat block for a hunger beast. Should we have ChatGPT come up with it? I know it can do it for 5th edition D&D. I don't know if I feel confident in its... So I'm just going to have it come up with 5th edition stats, and we'll convert it. So this is a patient. This is a patient of hers that was kind of just like sequestered in a back room here. And he was suffering from advanced effects of the curse. And now he has achieved the final form. And he's become an aberration of hunger. Alright, so these are the stats the ChatGPT gave us for a hunger beast. It's a medium-sized creature. It's chaotic evil, I guess. 14 AC, 58 hit points, speed of 30, strength of 16, so on and so forth. Int of 5. Resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. Dark vision. Some of this I agree with, some of this I don't agree with. It's got a ravenous aura. At the start of each of its turns, each creature within 10 feet of it must succeed on a con saving throw or take 7 necrotic damage as the beast's insatiable hunger drains their vitality. I like the idea of that, where it's like this creature is such an avatar of consumption that just being near it, it starts to like consume your body. You know, it's just like draining your flesh just by being near this thing. Frenzied Bite can make a free bite attack as a bonus action if it reduces a creature to 0 hit points on its turn. And it cannot be magically restrained or paralyzed. Has advantage on saving throws against effects that would impede its movement. Can attack each turn once with bite, once with claws. Doing a decent amount of damage. Target is a creature, must succeed on a con saving throw or gain a level of exhaustion. Okay. I mean, we can translate some of this stuff. And as a reaction, Desperate Lunge. When a creature within 10 feet of the Hunger Beast moves away, the Hunger Beast can use its reaction to move up to 10 feet and make a bite attack against the fleeing creature. So, a particularly nasty op attack. Because it's not a size 2, so it doesn't have range of 10. But this one... basically, you have to retreat 2 yards to get away from it. Okay, let's convert. I'm just gonna go down here to the bottom. We're gonna come up with the Hunger Beast. Size, difficulty 1. No, not difficulty 1. Difficulty... I don't know. It kind of leans towards 8. But maybe just 4. Yeah, 4. Difficulty 4. Got a defense of 14. Health 60. That's all reasonable. Got a strength of... I could see 15. But it's got... We're giving it 2 attacks. Bite and claws. So, with 2 attacks, let's go 13. Agility 12. Intellect of 7. It's pretty mindless. And a will of 12. Maybe higher than that. Let's go will 14. And we're going to give it a speed of 6. So for traits, well, immunities, again, we don't usually do damage resistances in this system. Doesn't tend to be the case. I like the idea of it being hard to, like, slow down, though. So we're gonna get immune frightened. I don't know if we'd really do anything else. Alright, we'll follow the the horror stat block here. So we'll make it immune to frightened, confused, and stun. Then we're gonna give it ravenous aura. Start of the Hunger Beast turn. Each creature within... Nah, maybe... Yeah, each creature within... Two? We'll go 2. Must roll strength. Taking 2d6 damage on failure. As their flesh breaks down. Sure. I mean, it says here, the creatures that take damage this way also lose 1 hit die until they complete a long rest. So we could change that to 2d6 health damage instead, but that's a little severe. That's a little severe. You could do strength roll with 1 bane, and then if they crit fail, you do health damage, but I think it's probably fine. Do I want to give him Frenzied Bite, or is that too much text? I mean, I like the idea that he's just ravenous, you know, and he just instantly moves on to another thing to chew through as soon as he drops one. So I guess we're going to go with it. Frenzied Bite. If it causes a creature to become incapacitated. Okay, and then Unstoppable Hunger. The Hunger Beast gains 1 boon on any attribute roll or luck roll to this is not worded well. I'm not wording this properly, but basically anytime an effect would impede their movement in any way, they get a boon. So that's like if you get an agility roll to avoid becoming held, or if it's a luck ends effect to shrug off being held, you know, stuff like that. I get it, and I'm the DM, and I'm not publishing this, so what else do we really need? Okay, there's a lot of text for a Hunger Beast. But I think, like I said, my stat blocks tend to be a bit chunkier. I don't think many creatures get 3 traits like that. Except for, like, higher-end boss enemies and stuff. Like what? What's a creature that has 3 traits? Well, I mean, here's like a Naga, difficulty 1. It has 2 traits, so it's not that far off. Here's a Nehi, difficulty 4, that has 3 traits. Granted, they're relatively short and simple traits, but still. Here's a Nymph, difficulty 16, that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 traits. But that is technically a boss monster because it has Fury abilities. But still, it's quite a lot of text. So, I mean, there's some precedence here. It's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Okay, then we have bite. This is +3 with 1 boon. And this going to be 3d6 damage. And target must succeed on a strength roll or become weakened. Luck ends? Or until the end of their next turn. Fuck it, luck end. Claws. +3 with 1 boon, 2d6 damage. The Hunger Beast can attack once with bite and once with claws. Okay, then their reaction that allows them to attack within 10. I think we'll skip that. I think we have enough of a stat block here that I'm mostly pleased with. All right. So I'm not going to just guarantee the ambush here. I am going to give them both an intellect roll to see if they hear this. I don't know if it's particularly stealthy, but they are a bit preoccupied and think that they're safe. So we're going to do it with 1 Bane. So Truco, 16 minus whatever, he succeeds. Balance 4 plus 6 minus whatever is a failure. So balance does not hear the ambush. Which means that Truco turns as this creature like shambles forward and is like leaps towards him. Which means that we start a round of combat right then. And Truco basically gets to take a turn as completely normal. Balance can't take the initiative and she doesn't get an action. So she's pretty much worthless this turn. Truco then is not going to take the initiative because he can just guarantee that he doesn't get hit. He's very, very good against a single target. So he doesn't take the initiative, and the Hunger Beast is going to just going to attack him. We didn't really determine how close the Hunger Beast was when Truco noticed, but probably it wasn't within 2. So I don't think Ravenous Aura kicks in just yet. So he's just going to do +3 with 1 boon, +3 with 1 boon. And Truco imposes a Bane, so this is just straight up +3, +3. First roll, miss. Second roll, miss. Nothing. Yeah. And you might say, well, Mang, 1 boon, that's like so little. If they impose 1 Bane, it's really hard for them to hit. Yeah, I agree. But this is in line with stat blocks. There are creatures that do get 2 boons on their rolls at difficulty 4. But honestly, it's pretty uncommon. And I would say most melee creatures, even at difficulty 8, usually only get 1 boon. I can flip through here to find examples if I want, but usually, yeah, +1 boon. Maybe they have higher, like a +4 or +5 even, but typically 1 boon. So imposing 1 Bane on all attacks against you is a very potent effect that you are pretty much always going to want to have, really no matter what kind of character you are. It's just really good. So yeah, that's it. That means that on average, this thing has like a 40% chance or something to hit. twice per, at least once per turn. One Hunger Beast, yeah, it's not going to be that big of a threat, even for 2 characters at level 4. But this is more of just like a thematic encounter of just like, oh god, this is what happens, if it progresses far enough. Like, they can tell that this was once a man. Like, there's a vague outline of a human shape within this thing. It's just covered in, like, rotting flesh and mouths and tentacles and stuff. It's an aberration of the highest degree. Quite disgusting. So now Truco goes, and he's gonna swing his sword, which is 2 boons. Yep. So that is 16 plus 4, which is 20, which is a crit. So our damage we're looking at is 7d6. 6 plus, okay, 27 damage. So it's at 33 health. That's the end of the round. Balance will take the initiative, of course. And she'll just use Witchfire again, because it's pretty good. So that's a 13 versus Agility, which is already a hit without her boon. 4d6 damage. 11. So it's at 22 health now. Truco, again, not taking the initiative. I can have this thing roll a morale check, but it, yeah, I mean, it won't get a boon. It's not a fanatic. It just has a +4 on the roll. It's kind of driven by its own hunger, It's not inclined to flee because it's just overwhelmed by hunger, and here is food, fresh meat food. Well, either way, at the start of its turn, Truco has to roll a strength check because of the aura. He succeeds, so he's okay. Now we'll roll the morale check for the Hunger Beast. He definitely succeeded. So he's going to take his turn on Truco here. +3 is a hit. And +3 is a hit. So Truco will sidestep the first one. The more painful one. But he's eaten that claw. 2d6 damage. Another 8. Ooh. It adds up. It all adds up. Because we have no healing. But now Truco gets to go, and he's done with this fucking abomination. He swings. It's 15 plus 6 is a crit for 7d6. 21, 23 damage, and I think he was at 22, so that is a kill. Okay, we put it out of its misery. Its hunger is sated. So, yeah, Truco is pretty disturbed by this thing and its existence, as it represents the kind of the finality of this curse and this cult and what they're doing here. Like, the whole city could turn into this stuff. Balance is more kind of intrigued and curious as to, because she's read the Devoratio Magnus, so she probably knew about this. She just didn't, hasn't seen one. So she's kind of fascinated. She probably wants to take it back to their lair and study this thing, but they don't really have a lair, so she's not able to study this thing. Truco is insistent that they go straight away to the granary and put an end to all this madness before this gets even more out of hand. Balance reluctantly agrees, I suppose. And, maybe Sister Alira will be there. Who knows? We already know how to reverse the curse, if you recall. We did that before. We had to call the devouring worms and kill them in order to get the pearl in their gullets, and then use the anti-curse ritual. So it may come to that then after this to reverse the damage that's been done here. Although the farmland isn't really cursed, it's just that the cult here is continually getting food and cursing it and distributing it. So we may not actually have to remove any curse. It's just like we got to get rid of all this shitty cursed food and bring in fresh stuff. And really, you know, once we deal with the cult, hopefully nature will heal itself and things will straighten out. So priority, dealing with the cult. So they have a granary, we know that, but then it also said that their altar, the ritual chamber where they do all the cursing and stuff and where they operate, is in an underground cavern beneath the granary. So it's not difficult, obviously, for us to find the granary. It's on the edge of the slums and stuff like that, and it's just one of multiple granaries in the area. But it probably has security, because you've got starving peasants nearby, like a horde of starving peasants. There needs to be some deterrent to prevent them from storming the granaries. So I don't know if the security here is the cult itself, or if the security is actually for just the granaries in general, and so it's like city security. What would be more interesting and what would be more logical? Are all the granaries together? No. Okay, well, I mean, ChatGPT already kind of answered all this for us. It says it's a dilapidated granary near the city's edge. Inside are cursed food stores guarded by initiates and hunger beasts. Now, I would argue that they don't have hunger beasts here. Hunger beasts are feral. They're insane with hunger. They will devour everything in sight. That's the final goal of like the general population. That's not like they're, you know, it's not part of their troops that they have just on hand, like, yes, like guard dogs or something. They're too uncontrollable. But ChatGPT also mentioned maw spawn, swirling masses of teeth and tendrils summoned to guard key cult locations. I think the maw spawn, as described there, are a little too similar to hunger beasts. Although hunger beasts are specifically mutated animals and humans. Maw spawn might just be more like demons or something, you know, more like something summoned from another dimension, like the Devourer's dimension, as just like a living representation of hunger. So in that case, we may not need to go too far to find stats, because we probably can just look at mutants or something, or maybe just demon. There's generic demon. Or here, I mean, demon spawn. Difficulty 4. It's got, it's an attack with claws, teeth, and tentacles. And then it has appalling eruption. When its damage total reaches 10, 20, and 30, a glistening toothy tentacle emerges from its body. Tentacles gained from this trait fall off and rot away when the demon spawn's damage total drops beneath the listed threshold. But it gets to make an additional attack for every toothy tentacle that it has. So at 10 damage, it makes 2 attacks. 20 damage, 3 attacks. 30 damage, 4 attacks per turn. And those are all dealing 4d6 damage. So that thing's pretty dangerous. I think that's going to be a good choice. Alternatively, you could go with the Type 2 Demon, but it's a bit more of like a traditional demon, you know? Whereas I like the mechanics and flavor of the demon spawn. So we'll just use that as our Maw spawn. So yeah, this is a dilapidated granary. It's kind of on its own. It looks like it's not really in use. I don't think there's guards out front, because guards out front indicate that there's something worth protecting inside. So really, it just looks abandoned. And probably anyone, you know, a peasant that's... They're not going to form a mob of peasants to storm this place. So really, if anyone pokes their head in, it's going to be like a lone peasant that's just like, oh, this might be a place to sleep. There might be something in here. I'm going to poke my head in here. And then they get cursed and, you know, or killed or whatever. So, yeah, there's not going to be guards out front. It just looks dilapidated. Now, we don't know what's in there. Truco and Balance don't know what's in there. And they don't know, definitely, that there's an underground cave system. An underground cavern underneath that has the altar or anything. So we don't know what to expect. What are my options? I mean, what are our options, really? How big is a granary? How big is a granary? I guess I don't know what I'm picturing. A silo. It's not a silo. What exactly is a granary? Also known as a grain house, post-harvest storage building primarily for grains or seeds. Typically built above ground to prevent spoilage and protect the stored grains or seeds from rodents, pests, floods, and adverse weather conditions. Okay, can I just get like a battle map of a D&D granary? Okay. Okay, here's a battle map of a granary. This is more than I expected. It's pretty big. If these are 5-foot squares, I mean, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, like 80 feet by 80 feet, generally. We're on the edge of the city, right? So there's not that many people around here. I mean, you already know what I'm thinking. Basically, my thought then, no, I mean, depends on what we exactly mean by dilapidated, you know. Is this made of stone? Is it made of wood? Are there cracks in the walls? Can we look in? Probably not, right? They probably fixed that up. I can't imagine there's like a hole in the roof or anything. So I don't know exactly what we mean here by dilapidated. It seems kind of in good condition unless it's crumbling apart. I'm just so thrown off by the word granary. It's just such an unfamiliar thing to me. Yeah, I mean, based on what I can see here, it's kind of just like a house, you know? Like, it looks sort of like a house. It's just kind of elevated a bit. And it's not like, it's not filled with rooms, so it's just kind of open layout. But it's just it's a building, you know? So it's an elevated building with one big room to hold grain. That's basically what we're looking at. But it can't be... No, I mean, okay, yeah, no, that, okay. It's just this granary is elevated, but it's also connected to an underground cavern somewhere inside here. But I don't think that's accessible in any way. I'm looking at a photograph of like an old granary, I guess, and it looks like it's almost on like stone stilts. Like little, I don't know, they look like stone mushrooms, really. And it's like just elevated off the ground. And you could actually, I assume, crawl underneath. But I don't think that's what ours is. Because I've seen other granaries that are more like the sides are stone, and it just looks, yeah, elevated. But I mean, plenty of these are just like on stilts. But that wouldn't work for what we have planned here. So I think really this one is pretty closed off at the bottom. It's just elevated by stone that we can't see. We can't crawl underneath. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess it's relatively common. It was to put granaries on stilts of some kind. It's interesting. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah. So really, yeah, it's just a matter of how we define dilapidated. What is dilapidated about this? What is dissuading peasants from just like, yeah, that looks valuable? I mean, I guess probably like there is wood. I think the very base of it is stone, but then like the upper half of it is all wood, and it looks rotting. The wood is definitely rotting. Maybe there's like windows, I guess, but they are just like boarded up or, you know, taped up. Not taped up, but I don't know, maybe there's a cloth over them or something like that. There's probably a lot of minor cracks that, you know, make the place look drafty or something, but can't really see in. Things like that. I don't know. So obviously the plan would be to just like stick my head in and shout wrathful utterance. And you know, for a lot of that's gonna catch some peasants nearby, right? But a lot of them, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of bad. It's pretty bad. It's not good. It's something balance would do, I'm sure, but it's not good. Because, like, depending on how many peasants are in the area, you could just have, like, a woman and her daughter or something, you know, like her young child just, like, cooking dinner and, like, oh, well, now I need to kill you because you are my enemy. And they just both stab each other in the face. And it's just like, Jesus. But what a horrific spell it is. I mean, what's your other alternative here? We just burst in? We could have taken... No, I mean... I assume the cult is kind of small enough here that they all know each other. So we wouldn't really be able to impersonate them unless we had magic to change our appearances. So really, we either burst in and just get into a fight, or we're gonna... Wrathful Utterance. I can just start breaking shit. I can just start Word of Breaking and just go through that granary, you know, and just start shattering bricks along the base and stuff, and just cause the whole thing to collapse in on itself. That's pretty good. Honestly, that would solve probably everything. They're either going to come out, which they probably would. But the ones in the underground cavern, which is where I imagine most of them are at all times, they might not hear it until the whole thing collapses, and then they'll be like trapped down there under all this rubble. It's kind of perfect. It means that we nullify the whole final encounter here. But yeah, it's kind of brilliant. Alright, so Truco is going to... I mean, let's fully buff here. Let's be proper about this. So we're going to use the Leather Armor of Assistance. So you both get a boon on all our attribute rolls for a minute. Truco is going to use Rune of War on his weapon. I'm not going to Thornheart Totem because that's a little much. But we got those buffs up. And then Balance is just going to start Word of Breaking the side of this granary. Like, specifically pretty low, like the stone portion towards the bottom. So, this is a pretty big building. This is probably size... I don't know. Again, I don't know how... We said 80 feet? That seems kind of big. A lot of these granaries look pretty small. Or much smaller than that. They look maybe like 20 feet or 30 feet maybe. So let's say 30 feet. So let's say 30 feet by 30 feet. So 10 by 10, which is size 10. So it's a size 10 building, which means that as long as it's bigger than size 5, everything is broken down into size 1 chunks. So we're blasting a human-sized hole in the side of this granary. And it has 20 health. So our first hit, it does 4 damage. And just, you know, we're 15 feet away from it. They probably can't hear my voice from inside. But they might hear the crack. Probably. The second one, 7 damage. So now it's at half health. So now, you know, they almost certainly heard something cracking in the foundation of their granary, which probably has them a bit concerned. 6 more damage. We're rolling... Yeah, we're rolling average, I guess. So now it's at 15. It's taking 15 damage. Now it looks like it's just, like, visibly about to crumble. And then 8 more. Okay, so now it shatters. So again, a human-sized hole, size 1 of this stone wall holding up the granary breaks. Honestly, that's pretty close probably to being enough, really. This is a dilapidated granary that's like got rotten wood and stuff. Like, that might be enough. But we'll declare that I'll need to break another human-sized hole here to cause the whole thing to collapse. Probably the whole place kind of shifts a little bit and groans, but doesn't collapse. And now, we can see into the granary. They can see out of the granary. We all just look at each other. And now there's problems. So now I need to determine how many cultists and maw beasts are here. So we'll build this as a balanced encounter for our group. So again, they're expert tier. Let me get my numbers. So that's 4 points. So an average encounter for the 2 of us would be 8 points. Would be 1 maw beast and 2 of those cult deacons. That's an average encounter for the 2 of us. So we'll do that. So we glance in, and they have lights on. They've got candles or something, so we can see. And it's daylight still out here. So we see 2 cultists, just like the others, rough-looking dudes. And a maw beast, which looks somewhat similar to the hunger beast that we fought, but this one does not look like it was ever human. It just looks like a fleshy, lurching mound of swiveling eyeballs, slobbering maws, and spiked and clawed limbs jutting every which way. This thing looks just from another dimension. And combat initiates. It's almost... Yeah, okay. We both take the initiative. Truco is going to... He buffed his longsword, but he's actually going to swap to his longbow and fire an arrow at one of the cultists. So this is with 2 boons. That is a crit, doesn't matter. 5d6, 6d6. Yes, 66 without the buff. 22 damage. So he puts down one of the cultists immediately. Good. Balance then goes. She casts Force Barrier right on the other side of, right on the interior of the wall where the hole is. Now, the Maw Beast is actually size 2. Which means it would have to squeeze through this hole, but it could go out through the hole. It doesn't have to have a size 2 hole. It can squeeze. So then they go. They're both going to run into the Force Barrier. I'm not going to rule full damage here. I'm not going to roll impact damage here because they slowed down because they have to like kind of go through this hole in the wall. So yeah, they bump into it. They may, bruise their nose or something. The cultist bruises his nose or something, but I'm not going to roll damage here. They're not charging into it full speed. But I don't know. We didn't really set a distance here between us and them. It's probably pretty far though, so I think they ran, which means they spent their actions to bump into this Force Barrier. So the cultists and the Maw Beasts just kind of slam a bit into the side of this invisible wall. And that's where that's at. New round. Balance is going to use Word of Breaking on the next section of wall next to it. So 2d6 damage, 8. It's got 12 health left. Truco here is a little there's not much he can do. If he had that doll of blasting that I got rid of, he could just blast it, but he doesn't. And I don't think really an arrow does much, and he doesn't have any other, like, bludgeoning weapon. So, honestly, he's not going to do much, and he wants to kind of steer clear of it anyways. Then they both get to go. So, they're rolling 66 against the force barrier. Has health 40. They roll 17. So, it's at 23. It heals 4, so it's at 27. This is a lot of number. I should write something down. Okay, barrier 27. Wall is at 12. Now the wall is at 6. And the barrier is at 8. 10. Barrier's at 10. The wall is at 6, I said. And then the wall breaks. And here is where the place collapses. You could argue maybe that it doesn't, but I have now removed a 10-foot by 10-foot section I've destroyed in the side of this dilapidated granary. That seems pretty severe. Technically not 10 feet. Technically 6 feet. So it's a 30-foot long wall, and I've removed 6 feet out of the base of it. Maybe you could argue that it doesn't break, but I think it's more exciting. So it breaks. So the whole place shifts, groans, and then collapses inward. I don't know how much damage that does. Usually it's not worth calculating unless it's a really big monster. And I don't think we have any really big monsters. So I'd say they just die and the whole place just boom, you know. It's a big building that just suddenly collapsed in the middle, you know, in the slums here. Which I'm sure is going to cause plenty of locals to come investigate. Why wouldn't you? People love to look in on stuff like that. And thankfully, everything inside is dead. Now, like I said, Truco and Balance don't know about the underground cavern. And eventually that underground cavern is going to be discovered once they clear out rubble and stuff like that. But it's also, it's not that much rubble, you know? So the underground cavern, the hole or the tunnel or whatever, might be kind of visible. But is it more interesting if we allow the leader to kind of slip away? Maybe the tunnel continues going and connects somewhere else. And so we think that we dealt a fatal blow to the cult here, but the cult lives on and will rear their ugly head again someday. And we will eventually have the final encounter. That's probably better. Was it incredibly climactic? Not especially. Was it fun? Yeah, I think so, and I think it was interesting. I think it was fairly interesting. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I really, I just wanted to see what ChatGPT could come up with. And I think it ended up resulting in a fairly interesting scenario for like a session. So we didn't wipe out the cult. We don't know what we did exactly, but we certainly dealt a hefty enough blow to their operations here. Because inside this granary, we're going to find just mounds of cursed food. And maybe that's a problem. Maybe we should destroy this. But now we're gonna have locals that are gonna start popping up and being like, "Oh, wait a minute, what is it? Is that bread? You got fucking bread in there?" Because you know, collapsing in on the the whole thing collapsing doesn't destroy all the food necessarily. And we know that it's cursed because this is the cult. So how do we destroy this? I don't know. How do we destroy this? Fire is dangerous. If fire can spread, it would have to be a very controlled burn. But how else are you going to destroy cursed food? If I could create water, if I was a hydromancer or something. Basically, I guess we'd have to convince Lord Thomas or someone else. I mean, he probably can make it happen. But convince him that, like, look, there's loads of cursed food from a cult at this destroyed granary. You need to get guards in there to keep people away and destroy it all, burn it all, or toss it in the ocean or something. Just probably burn it all. So, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna use spell recovery, and we're gonna use a total of 4 force barriers. And I'm just gonna construct walls around this destroyed granary. Invisible walls. So that no one can enter. Unless they really start bashing up against him. And that lasts for 1 hour, which is hopefully enough time to get word to Sir Thomas and get some guards over here to, start to set up a perimeter and take care of it. And that's it. That was our adventure for today. Would Sir Thomas pay? Well, Sir Thomas should pay us. We kind of solved the issue somewhat, at least. To his knowledge, to our knowledge. We explain what we know about the cult and that this seems to be a sect that we have encountered elsewhere. They've infiltrated the city. We can't guarantee that we wipe them all out. There may be other cells within the city. It's hard to say. These cults are insidious. But we certainly have dealt a big blow to their operations as long as you destroy all that cursed food and get some fresh food to the slums. And, stay vigilant. That's as good as I could really do. So, he'll pay us again. Let's say another 10 gold. Maybe this is a bigger job. This was a more valuable job to public safety and everything. It's important. So, we'll go with 15 gold. Alright. I think that's good. I think the city... Running a whole campaign entirely in one city is pretty daunting. I don't know if I'd ever really be interested in playing in that or doing that. But city missions, city quests, once in a while, I think can be pretty different and a lot of fun. Like a very different dynamic where you have to consider the locals a lot more and collateral damage a lot more and entirely different environments of alleyways and dark corners and rooftops and stuff. I think it's a very nice change of pace once in a while than just constant dungeon diving or, out in the wilderness. So I like it quite a bit. I guess next time we would do another one of those. Maybe another one of those that ChatGPT listed that we could elaborate on. Yeah, maybe something more political. Without flesh beasts or something. Maybe the festival sabotage could be interesting. Or maybe a missing noble that got kidnapped by some other noble house or something. I don't know. The festival sabotage might be interesting. Lord Thomas really wants it to go off without a hitch, but there's a lot of elements working against him. He just has a lot of enemies for some reason, even though he seems like such a good guy. Maybe that's why. He's too good. He's too good for this world. I don't know. But we'll do something else in the city, and then after that, maybe look into starting up our own business and some of the complications that go with that. Or what is necessary to get it started. We'll see. Yeah. Fun. Great system. A lot of fun. Really enjoying it. It's just good. For now, though, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.